Hey guys, welcome back to the shop. I have a 2002 Ford Excursion today that has one heck of a brake pull to the left, and the customer tells me to go out on the highway and hit the brakes and it'll put you in a ditch. I said, no thanks, I'll try it on the side streets. So I went ahead and tried it on the side streets, 20-30 miles an hour, and sure enough it puts you to the curb basically. So it's one heck of a brake pull, and they went ahead and changed tires on here and everything else they could in the front end, and they concentrated on the left side of the truck because that's where the brake pull is. In all reality, the brake pull is coming from the right hand side, and I'm going to show you why. Now, going down the road and you're just driving along straight and you let go of the steering wheel and it drifts off pretty good to the left or right. Now that could be a brake caliper dragging, and that you would follow which side you are actually drifting to. So you drift to the left, you look for the left front caliper to be hanging up for whatever reason. The actual pistons are stuck in there, or the actual the pads are stuck in the guides, and they actually freeze up in there, and then it'll just hold it and it'll just drag. So either way, you would follow which side you're drifting to, left or right. You go for that side. Now a brake pull is just the opposite. Now one of the first checks you can do once the wheel's off is check the brake pad thickness to see if one side is way down and the other side's like new, and that'll tell you which side is actually doing all the work and the other one's frozen up and it's not clamping down on the actual rotor and doing anything. After that, take a look and make sure that your brake hose here is not twisted up. This right here is perfect. It flows just fine, but a lot of times because these are so long, when people do brake jobs on these, they twist the brake hoses up, and that can cause a problem with braking evenness going down the road. And after that, we can start taking these caliper slide pin bolts off here. These bolts on this particular setup bolt into the slide pins themselves. So we can back them off a little bit like this, and we could try to push them in. I mean, really push. This one, as much as I can push, the actual slide pin's not moving in. We know it's frozen. And you could do the same thing with the bottom one. Got it backed off, pushing on it, nothing, not moving at all. Now since both of these slides are actually frozen up, where this thing is not moving at all, and so when the pistons come out and they put pressure on the inner pad, it's not sliding the whole caliper housing over to pinch the other side against the rotor. So therefore, it's just basically sitting there frozen, and the other side's doing all the work. Now once the caliper's off, the next thing to check to see if it's frozen is the actual pads here where they slide in the bracket. And you just take a flat blade screwdriver or something like that, and you should be able to move them quite easily. I mean, it shouldn't take much prying at all. And these, you can see, are just fine. Okay, so on this one I ended up actually changing that right front caliper and bracket assembly as a loaded caliper design, because that bracket itself, brand new, is about 120 something, and you can get a new reman caliper like new from Motorcraft with that bracket and pads for about 127, I believe. So I ended up just putting that on there, and we're going to go for a test drive here and see how it is. But those points I made, I know it's kind of hard to hear in the shop there, it's kind of noisy, but the points I want to make is that if you're going down the road and your truck is drifting to the left or right, no brake applied, then you may have a sticking caliper, and the sticking caliper follows the direction of the drift. Now, when you're braking, the opposite is true. If you're braking and it pulls to the left, you probably have a concern in the right front. And the same thing, you're braking and then it pulls to the right, you probably have a concern in the left front. And the concern, more than likely, is those sticking, those caliper slide pins in there, especially in the Super Duties and the Excursions of this year. I say before 05, so 04 and older. and those stick a lot. And they sometimes are they're so bad in there. You're gonna heat them up and drill them out and everything else, and you're just gonna chew it up. And there's gonna be a lot of slop in there in the pin itself. And when you do that, then you're gonna have totally different braking issues with the slop in the caliper. So you might as well just, for $127 to get a Motorcraft one, all new, you might as well just put the whole thing in there loaded and have, even braking. For this big of a vehicle, I wouldn't mess around personally. I get the best stuff I could, and I make it all new up there and make it right. So the points I want to make on if you're braking and you get a pull is to check the slides to make sure they're not frozen in there. Make sure your pads can slide back and forth, and you can pry them out of there, move them to the side, pretty easily. And then just make sure that your caliper, once you take it off especially, and you put a pad on there so you can compress the two pistons back in with your C-clamp, it should go in with some resistance, because these things are huge. These pistons are huge, and so there's going to be some resistance there. But, if you crank it down, it should go in, without any hardness to it where it starts binding up and you can't fully make it flush and compress that caliper pistons all the way back in. So those are the biggest points. And like I said, this customer, they went for it and tried to fix it themselves, but they end up wasting a lot of money on the left front when they should have been concentrating on the right front. And it's an easy thing to misdiagnose, I guess. It makes you think, oh, left front, it's got to be sitting in the left front. Now, the other things that can cause this are, loose front end components like ball joints, stuff like that. Although, it'd be one heck of a loose ball joint to have this concern happen. I know it's on the list of what could be, but before that, the other front end component I would say to look at would be the tie rod ends. That'd be more prone to causing a pull like that, where it's just not breaking straight because you're not tracking straight. So I just want to make this video because it's a very good example of just how easy it is to misdiagnose this concern with the front end, because there's so much up there that can cause this. If you're braking, you got to concentrate on the brake system before you look at anything else. And just by going down there and pulling the wheel off and start looking at that caliper, if it's free to move in there or not, I found it, right away. And at that point, you have to fix what you find and then retest and go from there. But 95% of the time, I guess you could say, on these trucks, the Super Duties and Excursions, you're going to see the caliper slide pins sticking on these more than anything else, causing that brake pull. So just something to keep in mind when you have this concern, because brake pull problems usually get misdiagnosed over and over and over again. Then you start guessing at a bunch of components in the left front, and it's actually the right front that's causing the whole concern.